Welcome to the Rise and Shine podcast, brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. I'm your host, Jeffrey Abramowitz, and for the next 5 days, we'll be celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. The Rise and Shine podcast will bring together national, state, and local leaders who are driving change in adult education. Each episode highlights inspiring stories, innovative strategies, and impactful policy efforts that advance literacy, workforce development, and lifelong learning opportunities for adults across the country. Tune in each morning this week to hear how communities are coming together to elevate adult learners and strengthen economic mobility through education. And now, let's get on with the podcast. Good morning, Rise and Shine. And welcome to day 4 of Adult Education Family Literacy Week, the Rise and Shine podcast. I am your host today, Jeff Abramowitz, and I am so grateful to be here. So much has happened. I can't believe it's day 4 already. We started off on Monday, and we've been going straight through. I am excited to say that more and more things are happening every day up in Washington and across the country in celebration of Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. We have an amazing podcast for you today. We have 5 tremendous guests, and I'm so excited about them, bringing them on. Before I get there, I just want to mention that I want to give a big shout out to COABE, first for all the work that they've done in orchestrating everything that's happened this week up on Capitol Hill and across the country. Advocacy has been taking place not only in DC, where we saw over 130 representatives from people all across the country that were up on Capitol Hill meeting with representatives and legislators, but we've been seeing it at the local level with proclamations, with meetings taking place, where people are really getting down to why adult literacy is so important in our country and sharing that out and giving the hard data and the facts that support it all. So I want to shout out to COABE for orchestrating this all, and big thanks to everyone that showed up in Washington, D.C., that was on Capitol Hill on Flood the Hill Day on Tuesday. And again, last night, we had a program at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that was sponsored by College Board, and they issued their new higher readiness report for 2025. We're going to be talking a little bit about that today, but I want to give a shout out to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and also to College Board for recognizing the importance of adult education and education in general as people navigate their way into the workforce. So with that, I want to get right to it today because our first guest is Cathy Tyler. Cathy is the Director of Workforce Development at the National Center for Construction Education and Research. We commonly call it NCCER. And Cathy, how are you this morning? Rise and shine. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this so much.
Also want to give everyone free permission. You are able to bring your coffee onto this podcast today, so feel free. I know I've been battling a little bit of a cold this week, but got my coffee here. I think I'll be fine. Cathy, first of all, it was great to see you in Washington. On Tuesday, we had a Senate briefing, or a briefing up on Capitol Hill, and you were part of the panel there. It was great to see you up there.
Well, thank you so much. I was honored to sit there next to Kendrick, who was just such an amazing young person whose life has been changed by COABE, by adult and basic education, by construction. So it felt really fantastic to be there and to be able to listen to him, and then also to the other panelists, just with the things that they're doing with economic development and workforce development in their own spaces, and to have one of our construction partners who is absolutely partnered with Adult and Basic Education in her own community and how they upskill their own employees. And so, yeah, I felt very honored to be there with them and to listen to the stories and to just know, things are happening and it's good things
It
with Adult and
is.
Basic Education and, my entire 25 years at NCCER really coming to play together. So it was awesome.
I love it. So let's start off because there are probably a few people out there, not many, but a few that may not know what NCCER is and what you guys do. So why don't you give us the story. What is NCCER and how do they operate? What's their purpose?
Sure, absolutely. National Center for Construction, Education, and Research. And so we are a nonprofit construction education foundation. Um, we are developing construction training materials, whether that be in print or digital, so that folks can be trained in construction. We have everything from an introductory construction program called CORE all the way through 40 different craft areas to include the energy sector, pipeline. So when we talk about pipeline, we're talking liquid and gas, and then just everything there is in construction. And so we have training credentials, so industry recognized credentials that are based at the chapter or module level. So we're talking digital badging that build to larger credentials. And then we also have our certification side. So if you are someone that has been in the industry for a long time but never earned a true certification for the work and the time that you put in, we have an entire other process that you can go through to become certified. And so we partner with organizations, so high schools, um, career and tech ed, all of the post-secondary type institutions, so trade and tech schools, community colleges, but then also construction associations, corrections,
Hmm.
actual construction companies. So all of the above are using us for training, for credentialing, and for certification. And so it's a lot of fun. The workforce
It,
side of this work is so much fun.
It's amazing too because I mentioned that I was at the Chamber of Commerce event last night and they issued this report and the report aligns really well with supporting the work that you do, but it acknowledged that they surveyed all these hiring managers, like 500 hiring managers from across the country, and they said that most people that have a high school diploma just are not prepared to enter the workforce. And one of the things they pointed to that really is a strong indicator of somebody that's ready to work, that's able to work, is actually a career certification. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. And in the construction industry, especially right now, there are so many jobs available nationally. And these are true careers, right? These are not just entry-level jobs. These are things that you can feed and raise your family with a sustainable wage. And you can look at a career pathway of building yourself. And that's just remarkable. I want to thank you first for NCCER has been a partner with COABE in the last few years, and it's a remarkable partnership because we're finally beginning to understand that if we can teach people fractions, they can be awesome carpenters, right? Like that's an integral part of it all. And I was
Yes.
wondering if you could share a little bit. I know you have all these industry partners that are out there, and I was wondering if you could talk a little about how NCCER works with some of the partners that are out there to kind of make this all happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm very, very proud of our partnership with COABE. The idea that there are adult learners out there that can take an interest and make a decision to enter the workforce immediately is beautiful. Because we're cultivating young people for the industry. And so programs in high schools and others are very important, but these partnerships with adults and adult learners that are being prepared for the work and can enter the workforce immediately, it's huge for us. And so I'm loving the growth that we're seeing with COABE. But here's how it works. We are an accrediting body for the construction industry. And so organizations can become accredited or can become registered under an accredited program to deliver the NCCER programs. And so I have a team of workforce development professionals, and I mean that. They come from industry, they come from the community college, from the K-12 sector. They are members of my team that work with organizations that want to become accredited to develop programs, and we help them set those up. And so it is something as simple as deciding what is that problem that you have? What's the problem you're trying to solve for your type of organization? And then how does my team help you by looking at the resources and the tools that we have? And so our curriculum comes with lesson plans and PowerPoints and projects, and there's a hands-on and a knowledge requirement. And so how do we help an instructor that maybe is coming from the field that's going to come in and deliver training? How do we help them best know how to deliver information to learners? And so we are connection builders. And so when we think about these COABE programs that we're starting, they may not be connected to construction partners yet, but that's part of what we bring to the table is how do we help them get connected to an Associated Builders and Contractors that has members, or directly to a program like Kiewit or Merrick, who was on the panel with me in DC. How do we help make those connections between industry and education to really provide that pathway, which, as you said, is career? One of our vision and our mission is improving lives through construction education, and really helping someone see that I can become, I can enter the industry, but I don't have to stay in that. Like, I can become a foreman or a superintendent or a project manager. There is a viable career path starting out entry level in construction. And so
I
I hope
love
that
it.
answered your question.
It does for sure. So much to talk about too, because we had on our podcast yesterday, Delia Watley, and Delia was on, and she was sharing a little bit. She's a program director at Irving ISD, Adult Education, and in Texas. And Delia was sharing with us a story of a young man who actually got his certification, and it was in a different industry sector, but and she mentioned NCCER and how important it was in the work they're doing in Texas. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that model and what's happening in places like Texas around the country.
Absolutely. NCCER is honored to also be partnered with Lowe's, the Lowe's Foundation. Lowe's has Gable grants that they've got that commitment of, a certain number of people they want to enter the workforce within a certain number of years, and they are partnering with national nonprofits, with community colleges and others. And NCCER is honored to have received one of those Gable grants. And we chose to invest in our COABE partnership and to start 25 construction programs within COABE. And so we funded those programs. Delia was one of those. What I would say is this has been the most fun, because there's programs that truly had never thought about doing construction that this gave an opportunity, and what they're finding is great success. And so Delia actually is tied to the Construction Education Foundation. They're in Dallas, and they have partnered with CEF of Dallas, which is part of ABC and AGC, and they've got an amazing program going on that they were able to partner with instructors. They've got access to all of those, workforce partners there that can hire. We just had a graduation in Palm Beach, and Palm Beach is another program that was part of this Lowe's program. They just had graduation last week. And so what we're seeing is programs getting started. We've also had that opportunity to expand a couple of the COABE locations that were already doing construction. And so that's been beautiful, because we've committed to having so many graduates through the COABE locations. And so we're going to be able to celebrate at the end of their cohorts more than 300 construction craft people
Wow,
are going to be graduating
I
and then
love it.
going into the trades. And so very, very excited about our partnership and what Delia is taking part with. And then again, there's 25 other locations. There's 25 locations that we've been able to get started through that grant. So
That's amazing. You're getting a lot of love on this podcast, just so you know. You got a lot of hearts going on and hands clapping and things like that.
awesome.
If people wanted to get more information about NCCER, how could they go about doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. Beyond telling them to reach out to me, which I'll be glad to share my contact information, if you go to our NCCER website, there is a place that we can connect, directly with our workforce development team. There's also my direct connect is listed there as well, so nccer.org. But I'm also happy to share out my email address because, this is my heart. I will make sure we get you connected to my team. And we would love to have that happen. So that is just C Tyler, CTYLER at nccer.org. And please reach out. We'd love to connect and just further grow. Whoever
Awesome.
is on here, we'd love to work with you. So let's
I
figure it out.
I love it. Thank you so much, Cathy, for joining us today. I know we got some people from Palm Beach that are on today,
Oh, I
and
love it.
they're giving you a shout out as well. So
Well,
thank you for your partnership with COABE, and we look
I,
forward to some great things in 2025, 26, and onward. So
me too. And thank
thanks
you.
again. It's
Thank you
great
for
seeing
having
you.
me. And I'm grateful to COABE. So
You
thank
got
you.
it.
Have a
You
great
got
day.
it. Awesome. So next up, we have I've been looking forward to this because I only get to really catch up with Cathy Tracy Olsen when I get her on a podcast and we get to go back and connect again. But Cathy and I go back a little bit, and I consider her in this industry just period, just one of my good friends. And Cathy, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. I am at our Illinois State Conference today, our Forum for Excellence, which we bring our providers together and share our successes and talk about our concerns. So it's just a great week to be in adult ed with adult ed and family literacy week and our state conference.
I love it. So Cathy is the director for adult education and literacy for Title II, state director for Illinois, and I've been like this groupie fan of Cathy's for like forever because when I want to know what really the pulse is going on in adult literacy, adult education, I just kind of stalk her on LinkedIn and her posts and kind of see what she's saying and then I know where I'm going with some things, but Cathy, thank you for all you do for adult literacy, adult education. You are one of these drivers that, number one, you have your fingers on the pulse, but you're there with the voice of our students and our teachers and our administrators, and you really represent the field probably better than anybody that I know that's doing this work. So thank you
Thank
for it
you.
all. I'm curious, I want to do a little temperature check with you because you kind of always set me straight on some things. And I'm curious when it comes to adult education now, what's the temperature check happening in Illinois and what's the vibe you're getting as far as their support for adult literacy into 2026 and going forward?
So I'll start with the pulse and the vibe of my practitioners in the field, my teachers, my providers. They're united in their commitment to adult education and to our learners. They are united in the mission of increased literacy. So that's a really solid foundation. When we look at the level of support I get from our state, from our governor, from our legislators, it pales in comparison to anybody else. I'm sorry, anybody else from any other state. We've got it going on here. We've got some incredible leadership, not only at my agency, but at our state. They're very focused on adult education. One, they know it is a driver of economic improvement for local communities. They understand that it's a way to move people out of poverty and provide sustainable futures. They understand the connection between a parent's education and a child's success academically in school. So we have a very strong commitment and investment from our state um, and from our program leadership. And I think a lot of that is driven by the excellence in the programs across our state who are sharing their stories, who are communicating the successes. They're verbalizing the impact. They're showing that this is not just the right thing to do, but it does get people jobs. And we are a training-based, educational-based foundational program, and they show those successes every day. So I think it's easy for our state to invest their time and their commitment when there's so much boots on the ground, excellent work happening.
It's a great point. We talked about this during the week, which is that studies estimate that low literacy costs the economy well over $2.2 trillion each year. And if we can get people smarter, the end of that, or the result, or the metric, is really that we're getting people back into employment, and not only into employment, but into career pathways where they're getting that sustainability, that piece of it. And Illinois has been in the front of all this, and they kind of been recognizing the importance of blending the Department of Labor and Department of Education
Mhm.
so that, as we get people smarter, we can get them into the workforce. I wonder from, you do a lot of work in the policy change. Is there anything that you could say that you could recommend that this would be a policy that would be just make a lot of good sense and something that either nationally or locally we should be thinking about?
Well, I think the drivers of, we have to remember that the federal investment in adult education started in the 1960s, and it's always been focused on employment and sustainability. We saw that very clearly in the Workforce Investment Act, and then even more clearly in the first iteration of WIOA. We're focusing on that workplace. So creating more pathways for incumbent workers and work
Hmm.
skills, workplace literacy, so that we can not only help somebody get in that entry level position, but that education can continue so that they can remain a valuable employee and upskill and move up and increase their wages. We need to go beyond getting somebody in the door, but get them once they're in the door, continue to upskill. I think that that's the foundation of really looking at what those incumbent worker programs look like. And we've in Illinois have really expanded that in the last 2 years of working with manufacturers, working with hospitality industries, working across the state in a variety of ways, working with the agricultural industry. And I think the policy could look at not only broadening what that literacy can cover, because we have individuals who have high school credentials but have low literacy skills.
Hmm.
We are finding students that are at college level programming who are still foundationally struggling. So I think that broadening that expectation of literacy to include essential employability skills, to include those foundational skills. And I think once you do that, you're going to be able to do that incumbent worker training and experiences there.
So that's a great point. So two things. One is, and it's not just that, it's also digital literacy skills and it's critical thinking. But employers across the country will tell us that, we could teach somebody to do just about anything in our job on our plant floor. And we could
Mhm.
teach them to do that. We can't teach them to be on time. We can't teach them those
Mhm.
essential skills, wearing your
Right.
pants so your butt crack's not showing, and how to deal with conflict and all those kinds of things. And I think it is that whole package. It's not just about math and reading. It's about all those things that make a really solid, strong employee. And I think education and adult literacy is beginning to understand all of that, that the scope of the curriculum now is a lot larger. I
Right.
call it the and then what, Kath. And the and then what is, okay, I give somebody their high school diploma, and then what? Right? Or I
Right.
get them that first job, and then what? And I
Mhm.
think it's remarkable that we're starting to think this way because it just makes good sense, right?
It does. But I also think as we talk about those pathways, career pathways for our learners, we cannot overlook that we need those career pathways for our educators. We
Hmm.
are a field that is almost 84% part-time. We need to also be thinking about how do we build sustainable career pathways so that an educator can commit to a full-time position within our space. We spend a lot of times pushing career pathways for our learners. It's time to push career pathways for our teachers
I am.
and our support staff and our transitions coordinators. And that's the one thing. And the second thing that I will say to that is our world is evolving, and we are a workplace functioning training. We want to get people out of poverty, right? But our workplace is changing. So we have an advisory committee in adult education in Illinois. We met Tuesday of this week to launch this year's task of what I want advice on for recommendations. And one of them is our team is exploring what are the credentials for artificial intelligence. And here's the connection between the workplace, my comment about teachers, and your question about where we're going is we know that artificial intelligence is here. We know that it's reshaping the workplace. How? What is the impact in the classroom? How do I invest in teacher professional development in a meaningful way so that they can actually start incorporating that into workplace training when we don't yet know what that looks like? If I said to you, what are the certificates or the credentials that are available for an entry-level position for an adult learner in the AI space? I don't know what that list is. I don't know what that looks like. If I said, what are the AI skills an individual has to have if they're going to go into a hospitality career pathway, or if they're going to go into a manufacturing career pathway or a healthcare career pathway? What does that look like? What do I need to teach them? So there is this really interesting emergence of all of these things coming together because we really need to upskill our teachers to understand what AI looks like and how it needs to be embedded in the workforce training. We need to teach that to our students so that they can get into those positions and then go to that next level. And we really need to start looking at what do our employers need for that talent pipeline so that we can kind of bridge all of these ideas together. AI
Cathy,
is probably the most defining piece, but we could really look at this in any industry. Go ahead.
Cathy, you are a rock star. I've done so many interviews this week, and I will tell you, you are the first person that's come on and said, we need to stand up for our teachers. We need to do more to help our educators get smarter and so that they can meet the challenges of the time as well. And that's remarkable. And that's why you're state director, because, but the truth is that, AI is here to stay. And we can either get on board and kind of figure it all out and figure out how we can use it and take advantage of it,
Right.
or we can, 10 years from now, we can figure out what the next thing is that we missed. So I do think it's
And I
super
think
important.
adult ed needs to be relevant. And when I say relevant, teaching individuals is always relevant. That is not changed ever, and it will not change. But if we cannot prepare our students to exist in the world where the world is shaking under our feet right now, a lot of innovation, a lot of change. We saw this with green energy and how to prepare individuals for that workforce. But I think AI is probably the most destabilizing change in career pathways for individuals. So we need to be ready. And I think we needed to be ready a few years ago, right? Because those changes are
Mhm.
happening now. But those times are coming. And we're going to be ready for it. And I think that is the thing that I would like to close with is that the resilience from our field, the understanding that we have to pivot and change and that we have to continually grow. And we have to do that at the same time of using evidence-based practices in our classroom. So I have a very resilient field. So when I hear stories about resilient students, I'm like, no, they're coming into, yes, they are, but they're also coming into a field that's ready for them. And
I
we are
love it.
ready to open our doors.
No, it's an awesome message and something that we need to be thinking about. One of the things that, before I let you go, one of the things that you mentioned was the fact that many of our educators are part-time and that there's just not enough funding out there for full-time support as well as really professional development that they need and
Right.
in order to do their job really well. And hopefully that tide will start changing as we blend in more and more workforce development and we start marrying the two together. But it is always great. Cathy, if we wanted to get more information on what's going on in Illinois, how can we go about doing it?
Well, I think the best way is to follow me on LinkedIn because that's where I share most of my information. And I draw the connection, and I will say this, adult education is personal to all of us. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, What you're going to see is I shared a story of a family member who was in a nursing home with dementia, and I shared a brief video because I said that the nurses, the CNAs, the technicians, the food, many of them came from adult education programs, and that was their pathway into this career. I had a small fire at my house. Everything's fine. The EMT in the fire department that got there, one of them was a former student of mine.
Oh,
So
wow.
education is personal because these are our community members. And if you want a community that can respond to your family medical needs, that can respond to a fire, a field fire, oh my heavens, that can respond and provide services to when you go to a restaurant or all the things that we do, they're going to come from our programs. They're coming through our doors. So it is a very personal field for me.
I love it. Cathy, thank you for all that you do. Thanks for being a friend and thanks for being on the podcast. We appreciate you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
All right. Thanks.
All right, take care. Cathy Tracy Olsen, just amazing person, state of
State of
Illinois,
Illinois.
doing some great work. I want to get on to our next guest. And sometimes when you follow someone, it's like they drop the mic, and Cathy just did, but I have no fear at all that Erin's going to be able to pick up the slack here. And I'm glad to see you have your coffee with me as well.
Oh, yes, sir.
Erin Landry, Louisiana Community Technical College System. And Erin, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm caffeinating. How are you doing?
I'm caffeinating as well.
Yeah?
It's Rise and Shine. We're Adult Education Family Literacy Week. We're celebrating the great work being done around the country. And I don't even know where to start in Louisiana because you guys got so much going on there. But why don't you tell our audience a little about the work you do and its connection and how you're connecting education into the workforce and that technical education piece and what
For sure.
role that's beginning to play not
Sure.
only in Louisiana, but across the country.
Absolutely. So, I am the state director of adult ed for Louisiana. We are situated in the Louisiana Community and Technical College System. And so that brings advantages when it comes to workforce development and connecting to career and technical education, and it brings challenges just like everybody deals with. I will say that Louisiana, as a post-secondary system, is really pushing on adult educational attainment just writ large in the state. And as a community technical college system, we are pushing very hard at short-term workforce credentials, IBCs for learners, regardless of whether they're AE, adult education learners, or just learners, again, writ large. And so we've been working really hard at tapping into that with adult career pathways, or what I've decided is adult dual enrollment on the credit side of the house to really get folks opportunity for post-secondary. Oh no.
I gotcha. No, that's me. That was totally me.
Okay.
I only did it once this week. Give me a break. I was
Look, I'm proud of you. You're
there you
doing
go. Um, when we talk about the career and technical training piece and going post-secondary, I think there's a new reality in our world, which is that, college isn't right for everybody. And I think we've recognized that. And a career credential can really lead to somebody being super successful in a field and a career pathway given to them. And I think more and more of the colleges are beginning to see those as opportunities and blending them in. But I do believe it all starts with education. It starts with getting people a high school diploma, the basics of math and reading and digital literacy. And I call it, I just mentioned earlier, I've been using the term the and then what? Like once I get my high school diploma and then what? Like what happens next? And I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how do we make that connection stronger? When someone gets the high school diploma, how do we get them to understand that, okay, there's a next step for you, and there's a step after that, a step after that, and how do we get them thinking that way?
So I think that's a great question. First of all, I would push back on the and what's next, right? Because I think it's hard for people to hold two things at the same time, but actually doing them together is better for adult learners generally, right? And so in Louisiana, we have multiple pathways towards a high school equivalency. One of them being college credits in a career pathway, earning IBCs. And honestly, I mean, For a lot of learners, they need to take a test, they need to move on, they need to get to the next thing. But for a lot of learners, they would be much better served in a classroom structure where they're not dealing with a high stakes test. And so I think it's more about us being able to communicate the variety of pathways that are available to folks, number one. Number two, I think we need post-secondary, be it short-term training, college, community college training, to actually look more like the way adult ed meets learners than sometimes the way that it is in a community college or a technical college. That medieval university model is not actually what the majority of the population needs.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm wondering, like, how do you change that? Is it a culture change? Is it what we're doing now by blending some of these programs where we're using the IET model, where we're
Yes,
taking math and reading and we're building it into our construction programs and
yes.
we're putting those pieces together. Is that the secret sauce?
I think it is, but it is actually I have a degree in medieval studies, so I'm going to keep bringing up weird medieval things. It's almost like alchemy. Like people are bamboozled by how you mix these things. It never fails to surprise me. And so the idea of doing reading and writing or math while I'm doing welding instruction or whatever it may be, beginning sort of healthcare pathways, is just hard for folks to wrap their heads around. We're so entrenched in silos. And so I think it's on us, or that's the approach we've been taking. I have wonderful team members who are building those pathways for folks. Oh, look, this is what the SSLOs would look like, the single set of learning objectives.
Yep.
This is what I went in your catalog and built the sequence. Because it's hard for the college folks to make that move on
So,
their own.
no, you're so right. So I've been working the last few years on the IET and corrections project,
Mhm.
putting IETs inside of prisons and jails across the country. And for those
Yeah.
that may not know, an IET is integrated education training where a math teacher teaches fractions in or near the same classroom as a carpentry teacher, and then add some workforce development or preparedness on top of it. And it's kind of just, but this makes so much good sense. It's like
Mhm.
it really is not rocket science. It makes good sense to contextualize learning so that adult learners can get it, they can see it, they can touch it, they can feel it. And you gotten a lot of applause as you were talking because one of the challenges I think is just that is getting people to see things a little bit differently and breaking
Mhm.
that culture down. Can you
Mhm.
share with us a little bit what's going on in Louisiana and how are you guys doing that?
Well, so we've stopped asking folks to participate and just sort
Mm,
of expecting. So, again, I have an amazing team member, Tracy Flanagan, who's on the call. She's our Adult Career Pathways director, and that did take an act of Congress. No kidding.
mm,
To get someone on board on staff for that. But there is a convening with the Perkins reps, student services, academic affairs, adult education, all adult ed providers in an area around adult career pathways and adult dual enrollment every other month in building
wow.
pathways. Okay, what's next? I mean, it is a grind, but like someone has to own the grind. And so,
Yeah, and
yeah,
yeah, and until you do, then it kind of flounders, right?
yes,
Um, and I appreciate that you guys are kind of putting the pieces together. I also believe it takes a village in this
it
space.
does.
We can't think that our students are going to be able to navigate it when we have a hard time navigating it. And we also have to remember that the challenges for adult learners are really different than, a lot of our post-secondary students in college where, a lot of adult learners are fighting to make sure they have diapers for their kids and baby
100%.
formula and they can get to class and they have transportation and all these other things that are going on. And the four walls of classrooms have been expanded
Absolutely.
now to the real world.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So this is Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, and one of the things we're talking about is advocacy and really how we make change happen. Obviously, Louisiana is doing some remarkable things in making some of those changes happen right at the grassroots and changing culture. What advice would you have for other states that are looking at Louisiana to say, gosh, we got to follow their model. We got to find out how they're doing it. What advice would you give to them?
Well, so I don't know if I would use the word advice because I would never say that we have it figured out. But the thing that I am thinking most about right now and struggling with is sort of, if you're in the adult ed space, you are a true believer, right? And you are incredibly passionate about this work. And it can be hard to talk to outsiders about what we do and all the nuance, right? Like, as soon as someone asks, like, well, how long does it take, right? The answer is, it depends. Any other educational setting, that's not the answer. It's 4 semesters or 2 years or whatever that is, right? You know, what are you teaching? It depends. Someone could be an English language learner that needs math instruction, that needs digital, you know what I mean? So like what we actually do is incredibly complex. And so I've been spending a lot of time on, how do I communicate this stuff? I need to not overload legislators, community partners, whatever, on all of the minutia and all of our like acronyms, but also get to the core of what it is that they care about. And so I've been thinking about, and for AEFL, we've declared it a month for Louisiana, but AEFL month is building infographics, building communication that's in this parish, you know, labor force participation would go up by 31% if, you know, people had a high school diploma, right? In this parish, poverty would reduce by 42%. Much bigger numbers versus all of the sort of the details that can get tricky.
So
If
which
that makes
is no, it totally makes sense. And I live by a slogan that I think it was Einstein that quoted. He said, "A person without data is just another person with an
Sure.
opinion."
Sure.
And you know, the more data that we can have to support the work we do, the better off we're going to be at telling the story.
Yep.
And we don't do it well enough. We don't share that data out with enough people. Fortunately, at Capitol Hill Day and Flood the Hill this week, we had state data sheets that everyone received
Yeah.
and that COABE produced, and they're really easy to get. If you go to coabe.org, in the Educate and Elevate profile, you could pick up all the data you want from your state, that makes it relevant. Erin, thank you for all you do and for your hard work in Louisiana. We appreciate
Absolutely.
you. As state director, you shoulder a lot of responsibility there, but culture change takes time, and we're glad to see that you're leading the charge there. So we appreciate you being on today, and we
Thank
look
you.
forward to great things in Louisiana.
Absolutely. Good luck with the rest of your morning. Happy
Thanks.
AEFL month, y'all.
There you go. Thanks, Erin.
Bye.
So next up, we also have somebody I've been looking forward to talk to all week, because Julie and we go back a little bit with COABE and Julie Knack. And Julie, why don't you share a little bit, because I don't even know what your official title is, but tell us your title and what work you do for COABE.
Yep, I'm the communications coordinator for
There you
COABE.
go.
Um, but yeah, the work that I do currently, I end up reaching out to people to, be part of our podcast, be part of the things that we do. I work on proofing all of our documents and those amazing data sheets that you were talking about. So yeah, pretty much if you see some sort of document that's gone out from us, I've probably touched it
I
in
love
some
it.
way.
I love So I do think one of the things that COABE does probably better than any organization in the country is communicate.
Mhm.
They communicate well with the field, with those people doing the work, from our students all the way through to our administrators and to legislators. And one of the things that just a short story, I was in a congressman's office recently, and I was getting ready for a meeting, and the congressman's aide was there, and he actually, before the meeting, I could see his screen just tilted a little bit in my direction, and I could see he got on to pull up our fact sheets from his state so he could see what the data was. COABE does a remarkable job of really giving that information to the
Mhm.
field so that we can use it when we're talking to legislators, when we're talking to others. It's been really impressive, and I have to say that, we don't thank you enough for all of this, but it is what makes our job a lot easier in talking to people and making the case of how important adult literacy and adult education is in our country. So thank you. There you go.
Yeah, it's all thanks to Sharon Bonnie and
Very
Erin
good.
Pobornik and all the amazing players behind the scenes, who really help make those things possible. And I actually I started my own advocacy journey last year. I started like the novice advocate because I started realizing COABE has so many free advocacy resources that make it completely possible. And at the time, as the communications coordinator, I was also running all of our social media, which thank God Christine Valdez has taken over and she's doing an amazing job and she's running with it. So it's one less thing on my plate, but I started my own advocacy journey because I was like, I want to know what I'm talking about. If I'm making these posts, I want to know what this feels like and what it looks like. And as I started, I realized COABE and I work for them. And so you might be like, okay, yeah, you're a speaker for them. No, I feel like I have just become so invested in the work that we do because I really believe in everything that COABE is producing. It's so easy to advocate using the resources that we've given. You can email your legislator in 3 clicks. You can take the pledge for adult ed. There's so many things you can do extremely quickly. And they even make those really heavy lifts really doable.
Julie, the one thing I love about you is that, you jumped right in. And I remember last year, how do I do this? Like, what should I do? Like, how do I get into this meeting? And I was curious, like, you're just getting into advocacy, you're just starting to hold your own meetings and kind of learn how to do some of this. But what is it for you that was the scariest part of jumping in this pool of advocacy?
So the scariest part is going to happen tomorrow.
Hmm.
I am for the first time hosting, or not hosting, like I have coordinated with the executive director of adult education for my city. And we are hosting a big AFL week event with the deputy mayor and our state senator tomorrow. I'm really
Oh.
excited and I'm nervous, but we also have an entire jobs and community fair with tons of workforce partners locally. We have breakout sessions taking place for all the educators and adult learners that are there. I'm really excited and I'm really nervous to see how it all turns out. But I think it's going to be great. It's the first time my city has celebrated AFL week and it's about time. So I'm really
That's
excited.
awesome.
And
What
this is
city
work.
where are you, Jewel?
Oh, I'm in Syracuse, New York. I'm like
There you go.
smack dab in the middle of New York. I'm in the entire state that is attached to New York City.
There
Um,
you go. That's
so,
awesome. No,
and
it's
I'm excited about it too, because I think this is something that, you know, I didn't think that I could accomplish. I didn't think, I was like, I'm going to start small. I'm going to take the pledge for adult ed. I'm going to do the 3 clicks. And then I had a meeting with, my legislators. I had a meeting with, and I think my next big thing is trying to have a meeting with my senator. That will be really cool.
So give it to us, Jewel. You got a lot of people out there that are listening, that are advocates, or maybe just thinking about it. What is it that you should know if you're going to jump into this pool and you're going to start doing some of the work as you've been doing? What is it you need to know? What is it, people, give them some guidance.
Yep. So first, I also want to clarify, this is not work that I do for COABE. I do this on my own. I don't get paid to do this. So I firmly believe in that because all of you advocates out there aren't getting paid to do this. So why should I? It's doable. It's something you can, take small bites out of. And advocacy is all about one small step every week. So if I could encourage you to do anything, just start like one small thing at a time. Start looking at our AFL week page. Look at, we have so many things that you can just click on. There's big and small lifts here. And once you start those really small things, like here's how my journey started. I did the 3 clicks and I requested a meeting with my legislator. And then I was terrified when they emailed back and I was like, okay, oh my gosh, no, I have to do this. But then I did, and I was able to click on the policy and funding asks that are already pre-made. I just looked at those, I studied them. And you know what? If I'm honest, I probably don't spend more than 15 minutes to half an hour a week on advocacy. And I mean, obviously it's been a little bit longer with creating this event, but I've done so many things in 1 year. I've gotten, this is my second proclamation that I've gotten. I've met with my state senator, my representative. I've had 2 meetings with my mayor. I've been, I feel like
I love it.
you can do lots of things just by investing 15 minutes to half an hour a week. It doesn't have to take your whole life.
It doesn't have to take a lot, and you're getting a lot of love on this podcast, by the way. But the
Thanks,
truth
guys.
the truth is too that COABE makes it super easy for you. Like, we give you everything. We set the table for you really well. Our 3 clicks on the Educate and Elevate platform make it easy for you to set up meetings with legislators, and gosh knows we have so many resources on our website that make it super simple for you to kind of jump in and just get all wet. But we're so proud of all the work you're doing, Julie, and thank you so much. It means a lot, not only to the field, but when you work for an organization, that's one thing. When you work for an organization and then you jump in the pool because you believe in the cause so much that you put your time and effort in to be an advocate, it means a lot to all of us, and we appreciate you and all the work you do at COABE. So thank you.
Thank you. And if you all have a second, make sure you look up the resources on the website. Take a look, explore them. All of those amazing documents are from Erin, who is an absolute star. And she has walked you through every single little possible eventuality that you could, have come up and be a hiccup in your advocacy journey. So, and also stay tuned for a novice advocate post after tomorrow. I will be putting that out sometime this weekend after the big event tomorrow.
I love it. We're gonna get a fan base for you yet. So, Julie, thank you so much for joining us today, and we appreciate you so much for all the hard work you do at COABE and all the supporting characters behind the scenes, Erin and Sharon in particular, that just do so much good work. And gosh, all the way up the ladder, everyone at COABE is amazing. So, so thank you for that. We're gonna go to our last guest today, which is Jedidiah Collins, who is the founder and CEO of Money Vehicle Financial.
Julie, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I think we might be the only people. Hi, Jedidiah.
Hello.
There we go.
Oh, well. Well, how's your day going?
It's going great so far. How are you doing?
Well, I'm good. I just jumped out of New York. So I just
Mark Huck says that he can hear us too. Yay!
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Cool.
Sorry, we thought we were backstage.
Yeah.
We're gonna try this one more time. There you go. We were gonna let Julie just handle the rest of the podcast. So everybody, we're all good. I think we're good. Okay. So thank you. Again, Jedidiah Collins, correct? There we
Yes, sir.
go. It's nice to meet you. Founder and CEO of Money Vehicle Financial Education. Thank you for being on, taking a few minutes with us. You're gonna wrap us up today. So I'm grateful for you to take the time, and apologize for the hiccup, everybody. That's on. But why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about the work you do?
Oh, Jeff, I believe and I love a quote, never delay gratitude. So appreciate the opportunity. And if, the little hiccup is the worst thing that happens today, that's a pretty good Thursday.
Sure.
So my journey actually before you started about 17 years ago. Makes me feel a little older, maybe a little wiser. But I walked into the National Football League, got my first paycheck, and really had no idea what to do with it. I was financially illiterate. I even, despite being a business major and an accounting degree, really just did not speak the language of money. And so I set out on a journey and a passion to empower myself. I actually wrote in my journal, and I tell students all the time, write things down, they're more likely to come true. I wrote in my journal that I wanted to come back and teach young Jed, a rookie in the NFL, how to speak this language of money and capture this NFL dream. I'm very proud to say 17 years later, I get to live that dream. I fly around, I get to talk and walk into NFL buildings, NBA buildings, National Women's Soccer League, and really empower professional athletes. But the mission and the drive really started to expand. As I was beginning my studies as a certified financial planner, I really began to see that it wasn't just the big dumb athletes that were making mistakes with their money. It's really an everybody problem. I looked at the higher echelon of education. My brothers were at Berkeley getting a master's degree, was at Harvard getting a law degree, and they started to ask the football player about money. And if Harvard Law School is not teaching you the fundamentals of financial literacy, I don't know really where is. Now, over the last decade, we have seen a progression in some requirements around this conversation, but my passion was, how do you start to teach millions of students what to do with that first paycheck? And that's where Money Vehicles started to begin. We wanted to create an analogy, build a story to really translate and communicate this language of money, and something that everybody understands, even though in some parts of the country and the world, people don't drive themselves. Everybody understands how a car and a vehicle works. So we use that concept to really start translating this language into short, digestible paths. And today I get to work, as I mentioned, with professional athletes, college athletes, and students, all the way to thousands of high school students utilizing the curriculum each and every day, including this morning.
I love it. So I think too often we think of adult literacy as being math and reading, and adult education, adult literacy is so much more than that. It really is understanding, digital literacy, and for you, that financial literacy piece, like understanding how do I save money? How do I budget myself? And then when I'm making money and when I'm successful, like what do I do with it? And how do I protect myself? And these are all integral parts of the adult learner and that make us a strong employee, and also give people career pathways to success. And that's really what we look at. Money vehicles, and I know I've heard you speak before, so and you're awesome because you really
Oh,
drive
thank you.
home the point of that, education, financial education in particular, can really be a game changer. And one of the things we're celebrating during Adult Education and Family Literacy Week is this breaking of the cycle. There's a great study that shows that the number one determinant of of a child's education in their lifetime is the education of their mom and dad. And if we can get mom and dad smarter, and that's breaking the cycle of poverty, and that's how you get rid of generational poverty. But as we go through the journey, understanding how to deal with money and the financial aspects of it are just so important. Can you talk to us a little bit about the work you do on the ground? Like, how is this translating to adult learners across the country?
And I will address that with kind of two thoughts. Number one, you're absolutely right. The conversation starts in the household. And so what Money Vehicle is trying to do is start that conversation, give a template and a guide to where it can go. But it really is about hosting it within that family and making it feel like a normal. This isn't a foreign topic and a foreign subject. But something else you mentioned about being a good employee. We are trained and we go through our schooling and we look at our lives and we see that idea of going to work for money. What we want to start to shift and change is it doesn't matter what your job and your career is, you are the owner, CEO of your own business. And to really get people to start looking at their job, their career, their income as an employee. Even though I go to work at a building and I get a paycheck, that paycheck becomes this CEO's employee. I get to tell it where and how to go to work for you. So many of our students are in their teens, many are in their 20s, their 30s. What I love about financial literacy and what the challenge is it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're starting at the beginning, it's the same starting spot. So as we look at that 40-year-old who says, well, I want to start owning my future and really start driving my own money vehicle, we're going to get those foundational steps. As you were mentioning, we shy away from that word budget. We stick with cash management. It's a much more empowering term for the student. But as you get those systems in place, as you get your accounts set up, that is the vehicle that we're going to start driving, controlling, and even understanding the destination that we're heading. So as it translates into that adult education, adult learner, it might be me as the individual student. Maybe I have the first couple steps, but I'm looking for the next few. but it also might be, well, how do I start to engage my brother, my sister, my neighbor, my roommate, my children? How do I start to create, as you mentioned, that conversation? Because as we look at closing this wealth gap in our world, I see a huge differentiator between rich and wealth. And a lot of people get mistaken because they think, well, I'm rich, it's going to lead to this life change. I like to show students that rich is today. Rich means I have money today. And if you have a sizable paycheck today, congratulations, you are rich. But as we shift into that idea of wealth, it is not a day's measurement, it is a decade's measurement. And so a lot of people are looking at it and saying, Jed, I'm just getting started. I don't even know if wealth is ever in my future. The only promise I can give to you is the biggest shift from rich to wealth is this speaking of the language, is the talking of financial education. So as we start to differentiate who you are, where you're starting, and most importantly, where you want to go, everything revolves around how do I discuss, how do I see, and most importantly, how do I use money? That first paycheck or that next paycheck is going to become your employee. You tell it where to go. And the last thing I'll say on this is money is lazy. If you don't tell it to do anything, it'll sit over in the corner and not do anything. If you make it go to work for you, it is going to start creating more employees. But that risk measurement, and a lot of people say, I'm a saver. Saving is great. You can no longer save your way to wealth in this world today. We have to take on risk, and with that risk comes education. We have to be able to start to make that money go to work for you.
I love it. Jed, if we wanted to get more information about your program, how can we do it?
You can come to yourmoneyvehicle.com. That will give you an introduction to the financial education. If you'd like to see more on me, jedidiahcollins.com is going to give you Jed the speaker. But truly, we have 1-hour courses on credit, on taxes, on investing, on whatever you need. We also have an entire certification curriculum that will take you through 12 topics, walk you step by step, and most importantly, turn education into application. So as you go through the program, you are going to be building a financial plan. This is not going to be the Mega Money Millionaire plan. This is going to be your plan to get started.
Awesome. Jed, thank you so much for being with us. And we appreciate you. And financial literacy, a big component of the work that we do. And in celebrating Adult Education Family Literacy Week, we want to make sure we call it out. And again, I'll reach out to Jed and get more information. It's an amazing program. I'm definitely going to be sharing it with some of our colleagues and friends and see if we can share some of that wealth around. This has been Rise and Shine podcast, hosted by COABE, and we're looking forward to our last and final session tomorrow morning for Adult Education Family Literacy Week. I'm Jeff Abramowitz, and thank you, Lindsay Lord, for helping us navigate behind the scenes today, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks, everybody.
See you.
You've been listening to the Rise and Shine podcast, brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. We've been celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, and we'll do so for the next several days. We hope that you'll join us, and if you have a story you'd like to share with us, you can reach us at info@coabe.org.